Stories of injustice involving cops are not rare these days, not rare on this channel, but we've got one I think that stands out. It involves a Guatemalan farm worker, Virgilio Mendez, an 18-year-old who has been in jail for 6 months as of right now, following his arrest back in May of 2023 on a felony murder charge. And the nature of that charge is absolutely wild. Here are the details. The arrest followed a tragic incident outside a St. Augustine, Florida hotel where St. Johns County Sergeant Michael Kunovich lost his life while apprehending and restraining Mendez. What happened was he apprehended the farm worker and then had a heart attack and tragically passed as a result of the heart attack. And so the farm worker that he had arrested is up on felony murder charges. I am not a lawyer. There's a lot that I don't know about the law, but this seems like utter madness to myself. There are some other details that we have to cover that are pretty horrendous too. But overall, the idea that you would be responsible for the health problems of the cop who needlessly accosted you, I don't see how even in America, even in Florida, that could potentially be upheld. But here are the details. So Kunovich approached Mendez on State Road 16. This is back on May 19th of last year. The police officer reportedly instructed the 18-year-old to stop while he was standing outside a hotel holding a cell phone. He was reportedly speaking to his mother in Guatemala. Later, the cop proceeded to check Mendez for weapons, upon which, according to the report, the farm worker allegedly resisted. Supposedly for 6 minutes, they say he had a pocket knife at the time. I want to remind everyone, the pocket knife was not used, the cop was not stabbed. He died of a heart attack. What difference does it make if especially a farm worker has a pocket knife? That is not supposed to be illegal. And the idea that like the very nature of the fact that you have a pocket knife means, well, anything that happens to you is reasonable. This is Florida. They believe you should be toting around heavy artillery. Now they're gonna get on this guy for having a pocket knife. In any event, body camera footage of the arrest shows that Mendez had trouble understanding the police officer who was speaking in English, but that's not the language that Mendez speaks. And so he tries to communicate, he's having trouble, he's saying, I'm sorry, eating, and he continues to apologize. There's this continued interaction in which the police use physical force and they tase Mendez over the course of 2 minutes. And so following that, the cop ends up having a heart attack that appears to be related to a cardiac dysrhythmia or an abnormal heartbeat. So like, I just think the idea that the physical exertion, and this is what they cite, that the cop chose to use because of a misunderstanding driven by a difference in language, could be blamed on the migrant who has no knowledge whatsoever of this cop's physical condition or health problems. How could that possibly be justice? Do we have more details, Trey? What do you make of what I've thrown out so far?
I mean, I don't even really know what to say about this. This seems egregious, even for our like police culture. It kind of reminds me of that story from a couple weeks ago where those two St. Louis rookie cops like smashed their cruiser into a gay bar and then promptly arrested the owners of it for being mad at them for destroying their property. So, you know, that was a more lighthearted comedic tale of this type of thing. I mean, I say that, but I wasn't the one who got tased in the neck and my back for getting mad at some dude for driving through my wall, which actually happened, you know. So a whole other state, like you alluded to, the idea that they're trying to like vilify this kid for having a pocket knife as a farm worker in the South, especially. Like, dude, when I was a kid, every boy in school, every 9-year-old in school had a pocket knife, had a knife in their pocket. My mom's boyfriend back in Tennessee gave my 2 sons pocket knives for Christmas presents when they were like 4 and 5. So it's like still a thing. They don't have, pocket knives are not generally demonized in the South unless a Guatemalan immigrant has one on him when a cop who is accosting him happens to have a heart attack. But yeah, it's just like, also, is there not an obvious implication here that like whoever happened to be the next person this cop like wrestled with, right? That he like accosted and trying to arrest, whoever the next person happened to be that the cop did that to, would have been responsible for his murder. Do you know what I mean? Like, it didn't have to be that, like, presumably the cop could have done this to any other person and still had a heart attack. Like, his heart was clearly like teetering on the precipice of a disaster anyway. So like, this kid got unlucky that it was him, you know. 100%. If it had been some whatever pot dealer or you name protester, you name it, they'd be getting charged with his murder too, I guess. Except I don't know, because the guy is an immigrant, and that definitely makes it worse from their perspective. But yeah, they talk about, he was resisting, he was fighting back. He didn't understand. He didn't know what was happening. He he can't speak the language. He doesn't know what the cop's saying. He doesn't know what's going on. It's got to be a pretty freaky, occurrence to have happen to you. So the whole thing is just absurd.
Yeah, and it's just add this to the list of incidents that seemingly had no reason that they ever began in the first place. Like none of this needed to happen, literally at all. And the idea that like this guy had a health problem, but let's say, I mean, we've seen reports of like cops having trouble with like more and more of their recruits being in bad shape. Yep. It's like if the cops are running around, they're like ticking time bombs because of poor health, and oh well, it's like like the cops are hot potato, and if you're the suspect that lands like with their heart in your hands, it's ridiculous. He's already spent 6 months being held for this. Like this seems like the sort of thing where not only does he end up getting off, but there's got to be some sort of restitution. But we'll be tracking it. For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.